was wearing 28 unearned awards. 28. He never earned the Valor Award.
And we managed to figure out his entire life, his entire persona was a complete fraud.
They are the voices of those who defend valor against those who would steal it.
These phonies will stand right next to a young Army guy that has been horribly injured in action and steal that kid's valor. And it takes from all of every one of them.
They say an epidemic is spreading across America, an epidemic of lies.
That the guy had never been in the military at all. He was a civilian, and he was just a POW wannabe.
If you would tell a lie that strong, then what else in your life are you lying about?
They are veterans, lawmakers, Americans, and heroes fighting to protect valor.
Stolen valor is lying, but it's so much more than lying, and the consequences of letting it go unchecked are severe. I was privileged to serve in Vietnam. I did serve 2 tours there.
For Doug Sterner, service in the Vietnam War means fulfilling another duty 4 decades later, honoring those who gave the ultimate sacrifice.
These men and women performed gallantly. They laid down their life in the call of duty, often for their comrades, for another people, for another nation, and for a cause that was greater than themselves.
For Doug, the Vietnam experience is now a journey beyond the wall, beyond his own memories of war, on another kind of mission, to honor that call of duty.
I was Army, I was a combat engineer. I appreciate the lessons that first the Army in my training and then my experiences in Vietnam taught me. That background gives me a little bit of help when I research some of these things.
Doug is on the lookout for real heroes, working for some 15 years to compile a database of U.S. service members who have received Valor Awards above the Bronze Star.
When we're dealing with Valor, primarily the 3 top Valor medals, the Silver Star, the Service Crosses, and the Medal of Honor, are presented only for heroic actions. They can't be awarded for meritorious actions. There are other awards, such as the Bronze Star, which may or may not be for valor with a V device. Only the Purple Heart and the Prisoner of War Medal are awarded not for an action that you made, but for a sacrifice.
It's an effort that has also uncovered a dark side, a world of stolen valor by fake heroes claiming honors and awards they have not earned.
On a daily basis, I'll probably get 2 or 3 emails reporting somebody suspected of being a phony. It's not enough to have a Silver Star and 1 Purple Heart. Soon they've got 5 Silver Stars, and I have one guy with 13 Purple Hearts. And so it grows and it grows and it grows. And so in that regard, they are causing great harm to the overall award system and to the individual legitimate recipients of those awards.
Uncovering stolen valor has also helped the Department of Veterans Affairs to expose those who would try to steal even more.
It's usually the stolen valor issues that uncover the other fraud. In Seattle, we had 8 people charged up there by a very, very ambitious VAOIG who went after stolen valor cases. All of these guys were getting VA compensation based on their combat service, their Valor Awards, Navy Crosses, combat wounds, Purple Hearts. In fact, none of the 8 men had ever even served in combat. 2 had never served in the military. It was the wrongly claimed Navy Cross, the wrongly claimed Purple Heart, brought them on the radar, and then the VA started saying, well, is there compensation related to this?
Doug Sterner's pursuit of genuine heroes has helped to shine a light on those who would steal valor and try to use it for personal gain. For others, tracking the trail of imposters, cons, and frauds is a full-time job.
I'm retired FBI Special Agent Thomas A. Catone Jr. I was an FBI agent for 35 years.
The pursuit of law and order has put Tom Catone front and center in the effort to protect the nation's highest military honor and those who wear it, with a little help from the Congressional Medal of Honor Society and a medal recipient.
And then they said, by the way, you have to talk to Colonel Mitchell Page. I said, okay, who's Colonel Mitchell Page? And they said, well, He's a Marine that was awarded his Medal of Honor for his actions on Guadalcanal in World War II. And they told me that he's been going after Medal of Honor imposters for years and years on his own. They put me in touch with Colonel Page. He told me about all these individuals that he would confront when he'd be either at conventions for the Medal of Honor recipients or public engagements and stuff. And he would meet these individuals. And through Colonel Page's efforts, in 1994, the penalties were increased for the illegal use and sale of the Medal of Honor. It was raised to a $100,000 fine and up to a year in jail if somebody illegally manufactured, wore, or sold the Medal of Honor.
Tom would go on to investigate Medal of Honor phonies and help to provide security for Medal of Honor events.
Every Medal of Honor convention that I went to, we would confront an imposter. Everyone. It
was in 2003, at one of those conventions in Branson, Missouri, that Tom Catone was faced with a man in a wheelchair claiming to be a Medal of Honor recipient and a former prisoner of war.
I took my credentials out, said, "Sir, I'm with the FBI. I understand you're a Medal of Honor recipient?" He said, "Yes, I am." I said, "I understand you're a POW." He said, "Yes, I am." I said, "When were you a POW?" He said, "1972." I said, "No, you weren't." "When did you earn your Medal of Honor?" And he said, "1968." I said, "No, you didn't." I know every living recipient. He is not a recipient. And he kind of realized, well, that might cause some embarrassment. So this van shows up in front of the hotel. He gets out of his wheelchair, walks at least as good as I can, folds that wheelchair up, and disappears. The law is written, when that happened, said it's illegal to wear, manufacture, or sell any military award that you're not entitled to. Since he wasn't wearing it, couldn't charge him.
The scope of Tom's work would grow to include other kinds of stolen valor cases, and sometimes the case would find him. During an event in Washington, D.C. in 2002, when Tom was recognized as an honorary Marine, he came face to face with another phony hero.
He's Navy Captain Roger Edwards. I mean, he's wearing a Navy uniform, and he's, Silver Star, multiple Purple Hearts, Distinguished Flying Cross, Bronze Stars, a whole bunch of stuff. I read his bio, and it said he started his military career in the Army during the Vietnam War, earned the Combat Medical Badge, the Special Forces tab, the Ranger tab, the Silver Star, the Purple Hearts, and Bronze Star with V's, and then he switched over to the Navy. I looked at this and read this, and my first impression is, wow, I'm being honored, with this guy.
But there were doubts, and a review of Captain Edwards' personnel file by veteran FBI agent Tom Catone would reveal signs of a fake.
He never earned the Valor Awards, the Silver Star, the Purple Hearts, the Bronze Stars with the V, the Ranger tab, the Special Forces tab.
In August 2004, Edwards was found guilty during a court-martial of wearing unearned service ribbons and medals, including the Silver Star.
So as the court-martial was going on, I testified, as a witness and as a victim. So when I get to meet an individual that I initially perceived to legitimately be a true hero, I mean, I was impressed. And when I found out he did that, not only did it, but did it at that ceremony and did it basically to me.
And it has to end somewhere, because when you steal someone's valor, it affects a lot of people.
Retired Navy SEAL Don Shipley is taking aim at another kind of enemy, this one operating on home soil.
I can't even get through the email every day with these guys trying to verify them, but the worst of them, those are the guys I'll go toe-to-toe with.
Don calls on his SEAL experience and access to the SEAL community to support another cause, on watch against a growing plague of phonies.
And when people contact me it is for a good reason. It's a suspicion. You know, they've watched a show or they've read an article, they've seen YouTube videos about these phonies, things like that, and it clicks. I wonder if, you know, the guy I work with is really what he says he is.
They come to Don for his access to the Navy's database, listing those with service in the elite corps of Naval Special Warfare Operators, the SEALs.
And the database is considered sensitive. You're just not going to put it up for the public. But there are very few of us that are entrusted, a private thing that we do. You know, I don't work for the Navy or any other thing. I do this for my SEAL buddies. So when you give me a name, you say that Bob Smith is claiming to be a SEAL Medal of Honor winner. I just look down the list, right straight down to Smith. And if there's no Bob, no Robert down there, we have a problem.
Phony SEAL stories run the gamut and come with a lie.
Some of these guys that do this, that do seek that limelight, do that, they're terrible. You got phony SEAL pedophiles, phony SEALs on death row. They use that word SEAL to, you know, my hands are lethal weapon type of thing. They use it to instill fear in a lot of people.
Okay, well, compare the two sheets here and let's figure out who we're missing.
My daughter, Sydney, has certainly taken phone calls. Women that have been threatened with their lives, that have been hit, abused, they are scared for their children. And it's phony SEALs.
Never stops.
This is the fourth phony that has been busted today, and it is shortly after lunchtime.
As someone who is shared in the challenging journey of a genuine SEAL, Don's wife Diane also shares her husband's disgust over SEAL fakers.
They seem to be abusive. They seem to be controlling. They will lie to their children, their wives, their parents. Some of these guys have lied to their entire families for years. If you would tell a lie that strong, then what else in your life are you lying about?
For Don and Diane, the homegrown effort to defend the honor of real SEALs against phonies is backed by their common bond with the Navy, where they both served and where they met 30 years ago.
This SEAL life that we love so much is wonderful. I wouldn't change a thing, but it's been it's a long road. Don and I had probably 4 or 5 Christmases together until retirement, you know, out of 30 years. That's hard. You know, it's very hard. And the children are without their fathers all the time. I think that teen wives display valor every day of their lives. I think that teen children display valor. To try to steal valor from my family, what I have had to do for so many years, it's stealing from my children.
There has to be a line drawn in the sand, because when you steal someone's valor, and they do it for a lot of different reasons, it affects a lot of people.
I received a Navy Cross that I wear for the team's actions, and I received a Silver Star that I wear for the team's actions. Those are the 2 awards I think that mean the most to me.
Mark Donald received those awards for his actions as a naval medical officer during combat operations in Afghanistan in 2003. Defending what those awards represent continues for Mark as he tries to give back to others who have served.
I retired and dedicated myself to trying to help toward our wounded, trying to help toward our veterans. People coming to take something like that, they're going to go buy something and put it on and claim that there's some form of value. They don't even know what it entails. They don't even understand the depth of what that piece of cloth and metal entails. What do all those lies do? When I go up to New York, or I try to reach out to Los Angeles, or I go to any city, and I'm asking people to contribute to a cause, there's hesitancy. I don't blame them, because they need to know that where it's going is for the right cause, and it's not lining the pocket of a thief.
And the wheels broke the ground, and we were all cheering as we took off out of Hanoi for Guillaume.
It was March 4th, 1973, a day of freedom for Mike McGrath and fellow American prisoners of war. after years of captivity in North Vietnam.
And it was called Operation Homecoming, in which about 580 some people, American POWs, plus some civilians, which came to a total of 591 of us, were released at the end of the war. So we waited until we took off and the wheels broke the ground. That's when you see the pictures of us cheering and clapping.
That long ordeal began in 1967 during a mission as a Navy fighter pilot when Mike McGrath was shot down and captured.
And I was on my 179th mission over North Vietnam. I was 27 years old. I was subjected to torture, 2 weeks of torture. I lost 50 pounds. I never had medical treatment. I just had to get over my injuries. They just healed the way they were. I realized that we don't have a camera. We can't record this. We can't tell the American people what went on and how many people were tortured and how many people were hurt by these our captors. And so I kind of made my mind. I said, well, I can't photograph it, but I can memorize it, and I can draw it. We went through a tough time together, and we held our heads up with dignity, and our motto was return with honor.
Retired Navy Captain McGrath and fellow survivors have encountered another group of POWs. Only these POWs are fake.
We're in an epidemic of wannabes, and we tracked over 3,000 people who say they were Vietnam POWs, but they escaped and they want to be part of our POW group. But yet there's only 541 of us alive. Several have defrauded the Veterans Administration and made false claims to get increased benefits and to get money. When we find a guy that's getting VA benefits in the form of cash and money, we turn those cases over to the VA Office of the Inspector General. It's just kind of pathetic. You just say, boy, these guys are desperate. Why would they want to be us? They should go over there and sit in a jail cell for 5 years. Then we'd accept them with pride that they're one of us. But they didn't sit in a jail cell for a day.
And it really didn't take very long once we started looking that he was not who he said he was.
If there is a line in the sand for those defending Valor, it's here in Denver, Colorado. Dan Warvey, an Army veteran with 16 years of active and reserve duty, supports local programs to help vets with legal issues, suicide prevention, and mentoring.
A lot of times it's just, how do I do this? I've been a soldier for this long, I've been an airman for this long, how do I be a civilian? And sometimes it just needs somebody they can call and talk to.
It was in that spirit of service, in the campaign year of 2008, that Dan was introduced to a man who said he was a graduate of the Naval Academy, a Marine Corps veteran who had served in Iraq and wanted to help fellow vets.
He was going by the name Rick Duncan. Seemed like a, dedicated, active guy, seemed to have a lot of ideas, and had a lot of personal references. Other people that were there would say, oh yeah, that's Rick, he's a good guy.
And he took action, forming a group called the Colorado Veterans Alliance.
We have affidavits from several veterans concerning specific dates, on specific incidences, on specific times, which I know there's a lot of veterans in the police department. And I know many veterans in the police department. There's a great crossover between the armed services and law enforcement. I think the uniform and the hierarchical command structure thing feels like home.
He talked, I'm a Marine officer lifestyle. He, kind of synthesized all that stuff together to be the perfect kind of young poster child Marine.
Well, he claimed to have been a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, to have served in Iraq, to have been wounded, to have received a Silver Star and a Purple Heart.
He dug deep. He found this information. He worked hard on the research. It made him that much more compelling, and I think that's why people for so long didn't bother to look at his background, because everything he was saying matched up.
But not everything was matching up with Rick Duncan. His story began to unravel when he asked to be a part of a campaign commercial for U.S. Senate candidate Mark Udall.
The person running the event said, fine, you can be in this commercial if you have your DD-214. The DD-214 is your discharge document that says this is the branch of service, this is the character of my service, here are my awards and decorations. He couldn't produce one. Just as a result of, my background, caution, I decided it was time to really check out his past. We started digging around It didn't take long, and we managed to figure out his entire life, his entire persona was a complete fraud.
His real name was Richard Strandloff. He had never been to the Naval Academy and had never been a Marine. The FBI wanted to know more, and Dan was there when they confronted the man known as Rick Duncan.
Is your name Rick Duncan or Rick Strandloff? He looked like a deer in the headlights. He paused a minute and then he said both.
Strandloff would be charged under the Stolen Valor Act, which became law in 2006 and made it possible to prosecute those who make false claims, verbally or in writing, of earning military medals. But in 2010, the charges against Strandloff were dismissed by a federal district court, and the Stolen Valor Act was ruled unconstitutional as a violation of free speech. The Strandloff experience and its impact on the Stolen Valor Act left Dan Worvey with some very hard lessons about trust and the law.
When you say you're a vet, there's a level of trust that's automatically established between you. People have said that this has kind of violated that trust, and it has. But I don't think it's going to stop veterans from talking to each other and trusting each other. What we just have to do is take that little extra step sometimes. If something just doesn't seem right, go ahead and go with your gut. Why are these people lying about the decoration? Is it to raise money for my fake veteran foundation? Is it to raise money for me so I can live comfortably? Then yeah, I think that's why the law is important. Okay, you're lying about your decoration. Let's take a look and see where you're going with it.
One lawmaker in Washington, D.C. has backed an effort to refine the Stolen Valor Act, working for a tougher law that also protects free speech.
So we decided to take the law and make it more of an anti-fraud law that says if you misrepresent yourself to gain something of value, then you've committed fraud. And therefore, you're not just lying, you're actually committing the crime of fraud.
Congressman Heck is also Dr. Heck, and a colonel in the Army Reserves with some real-world knowledge of valor while serving in Iraq in a combat support hospital.
I think about the first combat fatality that we received at our facility. And it's for that young Marine, and you know, I'll remember his name until the day I die. It's for that Marine and for everybody else who didn't come home that we want to make sure their honor and their dignity and their service is protected.
My closest friend was Jamie Pacheco. He was an Army Ranger with the 75th Rangers. He was killed in action on 25 May 1972, saving his Ranger team. For his actions that day, Jamie was awarded the Silver Star and the Purple Heart. Someone read his story online and in 2005 stole his Silver Star citation and put his own name on it and portrayed himself as a Silver Star recipient. You know, there's 58,000 names on this wall. Most of them killed in action or died of wounds received in action. About the only thing that their families have today to touch and hold on to is the flag that covered their casket and a Purple Heart medal. Meanwhile, out there are literally tens of thousands of men and women never heard a shot fired in anger, many of whom have never even served in the military, wearing, displaying Purple Hearts. That's the tragedy of this.